Good morning, my brothers and sisters. It's good to talk with you again this morning as we look forward to celebrating Good Friday and then Easter Sunday, albeit virtually. This morning's devotional comes from John Piper's devotional readings for Holy Week entitled Love to the Uttermost. You can download it free at the link in the email that I sent earlier. Today is Maundy Thursday. Have you ever wondered why the Thursday before Easter is called Maundy Thursday? Well, the name comes from the Latin mandatum, the first word in the Latin rendering of John 13:34, which says, "A new commandment, that is mandatum, I give to you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another." Here's that whole passage, John chapter 13, verses 31 through 35. Jesus has just washed the disciples' feet, told him that this is an example that they're to follow in, reminded them that he would die for them. And then he says this, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and glorify him at once. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I also say to you, where I am going, you cannot come." Now listen, Jesus says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another." John Piper writes, this commandment was given by Jesus on the Thursday before his crucifixion. So Maundy Thursday is the Thursday of the commandment. This is the commandment. Love one another just as I have loved you. But what about Galatians 5:14, which says, "For the whole law is fulfilled in one word, you shall love your neighbor as yourself." If the whole law is fulfilled in love your neighbor as yourself, what more can love one another as Christ loved you add to the fulfillment of the whole law? I would say that Jesus did not replace or change the commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. He filled it out and gave clear illustration. He's saying, here's what I mean by as yourself. Watch me. I mean, just as you would want someone to set you free from certain death, so you should set them free from certain death. This is how I am now loving you. My suffering and death is what I mean by as yourself. You want life? Live to give others life at any cost. So John says, by this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. Was Jesus loving us as he loved himself? Listen to Ephesians 5:29 through 30. "No one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. In the horrors of his suffering, Christ was sustained by the joy that was set before him. And that joy was the everlasting gladness of his redeemed people, satisfied in the presence of the risen King. Therefore, let us see the greatest love in action on Maundy Thursday and tomorrow on Good Friday. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end." John 13:1. He loved us to the uttermost. And let us be so moved by this love that it becomes our own. This is the commandment. This is the Thursday. Well, that's from John Piper. And I pray that as we meditate on these truths this week, that we would have a cruciform love, as Paul David Tripp often says. That is, love for one another in the shape of the cross. So Christian, look at Christ's love for you. Cherish it, bask in it, glory in it, and then go and love others the same way. Well, tomorrow is Good Friday, and although we'll not be able to have our traditional Good Friday service, I'll be sending out a list of readings and some video links that you can use to draw near to Christ as you remember his death until he comes. Until then, please know once again that I love you. I do miss gathering together with you. I admit this video and all that it is getting a little old, but praise God that we can still do this, and praise God that we can still have some fellowship with one another. Let's keep praying for each other and loving one another as Christ has loved us.